At first glance, National Lampoon's Vacation is a broad, chaotic comedy about a family's disastrous cross-country trip to a theme park. But beneath the pratfalls and one-liners lies a meticulously constructed satire of American middle-class aspiration. Director Harold Ramis and writer John Hughes transplant the dark, cynical heart of Hughes's original short story Vacation 58 into a brighter, more accessible 1980s package. The film's genius is its dual identity. It functions perfectly as mass audience slapstick while simultaneously critiquing the very desires it portrays. Clark Griswold's quest is not for mere fun, but for the validation of a cultural myth. The perfect bonding family vacation as a cornerstone of the American dream. Every mishap, from the dead ant to the broken car, becomes a puncture in that inflated ideal. Clark Griswold, embodied by Chevy Chase's perfect blend of oblivious optimism and simmering rage, is the film's tragicomic engine. He is not a fool, but a believer. He genuinely wants to create a magical experience for his wife Ellen and children Audrey and Rusty, viewing the trip to Wally World as a sacred pilgrimage. His meticulous planning and boundless enthusiasm are undercut at every turn by a reality that refuses to conform to his fantasy. Chase's performance is key. His physical comedy is brilliant, but it's the flickers of desperation in his eyes that ground the character. Clark is a man slowly realizing the script he's been sold. Husband, father, provider, fun-haver, is impossible to perform flawlessly, and his identity is tied to its success. The film's structure is a relentless parade of disillusionment, each stop on the road deconstructing a different pillar of Clark's worldview. Their visit to Cousin Eddie's represents the failure of the idealized, rustic family connection, revealing it as bleak and impoverished. The detour to see the second largest ball of twine satirizes the hollow pursuit of roadside Americana, a quest for novelty without substance. Even the romantic interlude in Kansas City fails, as Clark's attempt to recapture marital spark is awkward and interrupted. These aren't random gags. They are systematic failures. The vacation becomes a dark odyssey where every anticipated joy, family, romance, wonder is revealed to be cumbersome, expensive, or outright dangerous. Wally World itself is the ultimate MacGuffin, a shimmering monument to manufactured happiness. Its promise is what propels the Griswolds through hell, but its reality is a closed park. The film suggests the destination was always an illusion. The pleasure was in the anticipation, which the grueling journey destroys. When Clark finally snaps, taking the park's security guard hostage to force a day of fun, it's the logical endpoint of his consumerist rage. He paid for happiness, and he will receive it by any means necessary. This climax is a savage critique of entitlement and the violent underpinnings of having it all. The forced, empty enjoyment on the rides is the final bitter punchline. The family unit is portrayed not as a haven, but as a pressure cooker. Ellen, played with weary warmth by Beverly D'Angelo, is the voice of reason constantly battling Clark's grandiose plans. She represents the compromised, practical reality of family life. The children, Rusty and Audrey, are largely observers and complainers, highlighting the generational gap in understanding this paternal quest. Their boredom and irritation are a constant rebuke to Clark's efforts. The dynamic brilliantly captures the unspoken tensions of family travel, the clash between parental performance and childish expectation, the struggle to create shared memories under duress. Harold Ramis' direction is deceptively straightforward, using the widescreen frame to emphasize the vast American landscapes that dwarf the Griswolds' struggling station wagon. The visual comedy is often about scale, the tiny car against the desert, the family overwhelmed by circumstances. The film's color palette shifts from the bright, hopeful blues and yellows of their Chicago suburb to the dusty, washed-out tones of the desert, mirroring Clark's fading optimism. Ramis plays the absurdity with a deadpan realism that makes the satire land harder. The world doesn't bend for comedy, it stubbornly remains mundane, making the family's escalating chaos feel more painfully relatable. The film is deeply embedded in the early 1980s zeitgeist, reflecting both economic anxiety and the rise of consumer culture. Clark's obsession with the new car, the luxurious truck, and the ultimate theme park experience speaks to a society defining itself through purchases and destinations. The vacation is a performance of success, yet the film constantly undermines this. Their brand new car falls apart, symbolizing the fragility of status bought in credit. The trip is funded by a budget stretched thin, a reality for many families chasing an advertised ideal. Vacation thus becomes a comic autopsy of Reagan-era optimism, questioning the cost of that relentless positivity. John Hughes' script, adapting his own story, is masterful in its escalation and payoff. Every minor annoyance, the dog leash, the sticky seat, plants a seed for a later, bigger catastrophe. The dialogue is peppered with iconic lines that work as jokes, but also as character beats revealing Clark's deteriorating state. The tone expertly walks a tightrope, allowing for genuine moments of family connection amidst the chaos, like the quiet scene at the Grand Canyon before plunging back into farce. This balance prevents the characters from becoming mere caricatures. We laugh at Clark, but we also understand his profound misguided love, which makes his final breakdown both hilarious and strangely poignant. The film's legacy is immense, spawning a franchise and cementing the disaster vacation trope. But its true influence is in its blueprint for intelligent mainstream satire. It proved that a film could be both wildly funny and critically sharp, that audience identification could be built through shared frustration rather than just aspiration. Clark Griswold entered the pantheon of American cultural figures as the definitive struggling dad, a symbol of good intentions, paved with bad decisions. The movie's enduring appeal lies in this universal recognition. We have all been on a trip where everything went wrong, and we have all at some point been Clark, desperately trying to force fun into existence. In conclusion, National Lampoon's Vacation is a masterpiece of comedic subversion. It uses the framework of a family road trip to conduct a hilarious yet piercing examination of American mythology. It questions the relentless pursuit of pleasure, the commercialization of experience, and the immense pressure of familial roles. Clark's journey to Wally World is a modern comic tragedy where the hero's fatal flaw is his unwavering belief in a promised happiness. The film doesn't just make us laugh at a family's misfortunes, it makes us reflect on our own quests, our own Wally Worlds, and the often absurd lengths we go to in order to convince ourselves and others that we are, finally, having fun.